Did I go live or am I? I did. Okay. Wait. Okay. I turned something off, I think. Did I? Hold on. I was messing with a setting. Okay, I didn't turn it off. Alright. I saw that I could have emotes rain on my model. And I was like, ooh. Let's try. And so I did. But now there's two sets of emotes floating on the screen. It's gonna be... It's okay. It should be fine, right? It should be fine. Yeah, one of them got stuck on my ribbon. I tried to catch it. I tried to catch it, but it didn't work. I also have lighting, mood lighting. But if oh my god, latte, please. Latte got disease. But if it's if it gets too bright or too dark, I'll remove it. It's kind of bothering me. It has like a little, it has a weird border around my game now. Anyways, let's get Jaku in here. Oh, hold on. I forgot to turn a setting off. He's beautiful. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Hello, Badu. I lower you down to 45. I think I had you at 45 last time. Speak.
Hello, test. I changed my settings.
Okay, I think
hello.
That's good. Do you need to adjust to me?
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hello.
One more time?
I'm good.
Okay.
Test. Am I quiet? Am I loud?
You're perfect,
45.
just as you are.
Ooh.
Ooh. I need to see if this light setting will be too bright, but I don't know what instances it'll be bright in. I think just in the shop. I know that emote. You are a fellow watcher of Tessaleum. Though I haven't seen any of her. I haven't seen in her recent streams. Tesla? Nikita. Nikita. The character she plays is
I'm
Tesla.
trying to remember what we did.
Oh my god, I'm injured. Can I have 100?
You can. I have 5 strength. Do you want to take strength?
I have 3 strength. No, I have 3 health, 6 stamina, 1 extra jump, 1 launch, 2 speed, 1 strength, 1 range, 2 crouch, 1 tumble. I have so much. I just subbed to her for the emotes. That's fine. Her emotes are cute. I want the gun. I don't like the gun more than the shotgun.
Do you want to take the strength and I'll take the
Sure.
tumble stuff?
What's your max HP?
160.
Me too. I think I want... Do you want the crouch rest? I have 2.
Oh, you can take one.
I have another strength. Didn't I just take this? I have 2 strength.
No, we had 2. Yeah, we had 2.
Do I take this or you take?
Start going for more.
I think 2. I think 2 is fine for me.
10.
What about stamina?
You take the HP. Let's go.
I think the game is like...
Oh no.
Like already? The
game is already sending assassins.
You're taking too long in here. Don't be scared. Oh my god.
Right?
You can hear us, right?
What if we just... Oh yeah, we have this thing now. Oh no.
I got a gun if
We
you...
have shotgun. Oh yeah, you shoot him if he... Okay.
Wait, what is this now?
Just free money.
What is this now? Oh,
Ellie,
nothing.
gun!
You want me to shoot him, or are you gonna drag him around?
Oh, I didn't
You're
quite
fine.
explode.
I think we should put it in
Yes.
the thing.
Yeah.
We need a second cart right about now, right? Just to put in souls. Is this...
Right, yeah, what is this?
Ew!
A hand?
Hey, talk to me. Talk,
11,000
talk to
now.
me. Is it talk to me or speak to me? Oh, crayon.
Speak to me, talk to me.
The movie. You know where you touch the hand or you hold the hand and then you're
Oh
like...
no, ew, that thing.
Did it move just now?
Oh, that's like the worst. It made a little...
Ah! Something grew. Talk to me, speak to me, get on Discord. The movie. Wow, why is my thing still high?
What thing?
Oh, wait.
Wait, no.
I guess this goes into the... Wait, can we get the smaller one? Or is it too... No. Just put this one in the cart.
Yeah, how much is that?
3,900.
Pennies.
Ah! Yeah, that's a good thing we waited. Oops, sorry. Clear this room first. All the doors are open.
Well, the hitman came in, so I guess.
Is it just me or is everybody getting sick? Are you getting sick, Jaku?
Sick?
Yeah. Oh, I no longer hear you. How goes your fine morning, Masam? Is that how you say your name? I hope I said it right. Wow! 2 things. Let me get the cart. I don't recall what I wanted to talk about. I think it had to do with my weekend, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even remember what I did this weekend. What did I do this weekend? I need to get up here. Oh, there's a broom up here too. Is this a boot? A tentacle. I was like, what? It looked like a rollerblade. Roller skate. Ew, it's...
What was that sound?
My item! It's my item!
It's a magic wand.
You wanna play with it? Swish it around. We also have a broom worth 11k. I think I'm gonna drop down.
Oh wait, okay. I'm gonna let go.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I can be careful.
You are strong now.
Wait. Is it a fall enough? Oh, careful, careful. I'm focused. So well, I'm glad to hear. Excited for the new Kirby Air Riders game coming out later this month. I heard about that. I think Ven wanted me to play it too, but I was like...
Kirby game.
I love Kirby. I'm just not...
Do you?
I do. I have Kirby plushies. It's just. Ready? Wait, do you got this by itself? By yourself?
I kind of wanted to do like this.
It's not all the way in. Oh, oh no. That's
Oops.
in. That's in, right?
No.
It's in. The red.
Next.
The red line isn't.
Yeah, I can see.
I don't think I've ever played a Kirby game. Online demo? Ooh. Do you need a Switch 2 for that? She still has a pumpkin on her head. Into the hole! Oh, she lived. Not for long. No! No!
Oh, just in the nick of time. I'll go and charge the again.
Okay. Should look for the farthest one. Let me ask. Jaku! Should I look for the farthest one, or is running back all the way from the farthest one funner?
We could just not min-max.
Not in. Okay. Whichever way you find first, then. Oh,
Yeah.
scary. Oh, what the heck? In that case, I think.
Oh no.
A unicorn horn! I think the nearest one might be this way. How'd you kill him?
I just tossed him.
Oh, I thought you killed the piranha that was on you. Whoa, another big thing.
What is this thing?
It's gonna be on Switch 2 only, because I only have a regular Switch. Is beautiful enough? Oh my goodness. Okay, so it's not here. I thought it would be here, but it's not here. Ooh. Another tentacle. This would make a good takoyaki. Whoa. What is that?
Whoa.
What is this?
It's a...
Crystal ball. We definitely need more,
crystal ball.
Ew, stop squishing. We definitely need more... Oh, what was that? Oh, it was you. We need another card.
The closest one is here.
Should we save it then?
I mean, we could just skip this, yeah.
What if I could lift this? I'll just take this straight to the thing. Paul, smile. Oh no! Okay, time. Ah. Ah. Maybe? I've been wanting to play on my Switch lately. I wanted to play Fire Emblem, the one where there's students. I don't remember what. I don't remember what it's called. I think like 3 houses or 4. I don't know. Something about houses. I wanted to play that, and I was like, I don't know if I want the Switch 2 if I don't play much games on my Switch. And I was like trying to figure out what game I would play. I think that's like the only one so far that I want to play, really. 3 houses, yeah! I don't remember if I streamed any of the other Fire Emblem houses. Other Fire Emblem games. Sorry, this thing is like It's scaring me. It looks like it's gonna fall off. The simplest... I'm gonna just take this straight to the extraction. So we can drop off some heavy stuff. Oh, there's holes in here. Oh, that's dangerous. Yep. I'll try not to run into you. Awakening is really good. Ooh. I don't know if I have that one. I don't remember what I have. I have the one where... I really don't know names. Ah! Help! Can I like turn this over and just put it down?
I'm super laggy for some reason. Can you tell me to jump?
Jump. Not bad. Oh my god, I can't lift this. Okay, maybe I do need another strength.
Maybe it was just stuck.
Awakening is on 3DS. Thought it flew off. Okay. I don't remember what I played. I remember there was one that was like Japanese themed, and then the other one was like a different theme. I had the one that was the other theme. My memory is really bad. What is this? A pamphlet. A tarot card. It's a big tarot card. A diamond. Into my truck. My truck? My cart. I'm not great with Fire Emblem games. I'm just as lost. Okay, great. Neither of us know what I'm talking about. That's perfect, actually. I can't make a fool out of myself. If that's the... Ooh, sparkly. Oh. I bet this will go in. Yeah! Oh! Oh. 4K. If you tell me what console, I might be able to tell. I have no idea. It might have been 3DS. This is also gonna make it in, right? Yes! Well, I know I'm hopeless. I'm so sorry. Ask me anything to remember anything, and I cannot. Oh. Shall I shoot?
Ooh, nice blah blah.
2 shots, 1 kill. Got a big jar of spiders.
Oh, my favorite. Unicorn horn.
Jaku is so cute.
Agree.
Exclamation point cute in chat.
My turn. I shall. 18!
Oof.
What the heck?
Oh no.
A soul!
It was a potion of lies.
Why, what happened? Wait, okay. I reroll under... Do I reroll under 20? Or under 10? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Ah! I made it worse!
Killed me.
I made it worse! Hey! At least one of us is cute! eyeball. I found your eye. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. The angry face. The angry face on your... Ew. Throw it into the hole. Why am I hearing something? Can I shoot you from here? Ah. No.
Oh, it's the... No! Ellie! Oh god, it almost got me. Oh. No! Ah! Ellie, don't kill it! Don't kill it now!
It's gonna eat you! It's gonna eat you!
Oh, thank you.
I don't think shooting it from
But
here
I feel like if you...
helps. Hello? Hello? Okay. Huh?
Is it just immortal?
I shot it twice. It should be hurt. It's gone. Are you okay? How much did it take when it ate you? How much was the bite?
I can't tell. I think it bit me like multiple times, but I don't know how much
Is it
each
a
bite
lot?
did. It
You
wasn't that
hurt?
much, but I did lose. I lost almost 100 life, yeah. I think it's like 20 damage per bite or something. Thank you. You can push this in, I think.
I got card. We're just that good. Look at all this money.
Money! 117k would be a shame if we lost this somehow.
Oh, it's there again. Stop. Aha!
Oh,
I think they don't heal.
yeah.
Did you check this room already? Upstairs?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
The hourglass was in there.
Okay. Big time money. Let's see.
We're rich.
One more and then the last one is in the closest room. Empty. I shall go upstairs. Ba, ba, ba. Cold Cassidy. Whoa! That is a different eyeball.
We just... Do you need the card?
Oh my god! Eee. Jaku!
What?
Can you get that one, please?
It's you! I hear creepy breathing, by the way, downstairs.
It was me.
You're doing the creepy...
There's another one. Guys, I got like a chill when I touched it. When it looked at me. I started hyperventilating. Ew.
Let's see, so it was your creepy breathing.
Okay. Do you mean a kidnapper, or is it possible that it was me? Is it possible that it was me hyperventilating? Ooh, oh! There was nothing there. Wow. I love the academy because this map is so easy. Do you play Overwatch, Masam? Ah!
What are you doing?
I opened it a little too hard. Ooh, what this?
Nice big bottle of spoilers.
Ew. Ah!
Wait. Yep. Like trying to put a baby to sleep.
Do they only give us one item, one of each item?
Thank you.
There's an item in here. Ah! It scared me. Heckin' heck. Where'd you go? What item is in here?
What's that down?
Huh? It says there's an item in here.
Oh. Is it like on the shelf? Yeah, it is.
Oh. Oh,
Oh.
it's like a bird
A
skull.
little bird skull.
I'll check downstairs. Man, I haven't touched Overwatch all season. Oh. I would like to. 3 big things down here. Big-ish. Ooh, and 1 small thing. I think it's closest if I go this way.
Anything that? Oh yes.
3
there is.
things. There's a potion bottle, a big potion bottle, and a cube.
Can the cube fit from here?
I don't think so. This goblin head might.
Taking the long way.
Come on. I know you fit. Yeah. I don't like these items. They... It's beautiful. I'll get the other one. Right in here. Goblin head is super annoying. It takes up so much space on the cart. But at least it's not fragile. Oh god. Oh, look, it fell. Somehow, without anything touching it, it fell.
Oh, ears. That's all.
That room on the left, I don't think we checked on top of it.
I did a quick little peek. I didn't see anything.
Okay.
Then again, I'm blind.
Mass, that's the head in the square. It's always super annoying to put it in the cart. Yeah, I think I had a map where there was like 5 of them, and I had to like hook the square part and have like part of it hanging off in order for it to fit. Your eyes closed.
Woo.
They are. How are you seeing with your eyes closed? I'll go get the last one.
Just
It's
open
the
your
last
third
one,
eye.
right?
Next one is the last one.
Let's go over there then. Look at me, already lost. Ah! Stop. Okay, listen. I got scared because there was one coming in and that one was in my face. I'm usually braver than this, I swear. Get spooked. It's still spooky season. Alright, I wanted to talk about Halloween. We had so many kids come by this year. I think last year we only had like 8, maybe 6 kids come by for candy, and then this year we had so many. I was like, we're probably not gonna get that many kids this year, so let's give two away. We had like Rice Krispie treats. That's what we were giving out. And I was like, just give 2 each to each kid. And so we started doing that, and then we started running low, and I was like, did I miscalculate? What is that? Did I make him mad? I got 3 bullets. Yeah! I got chomped! When did he turn around? Deep breaths, Ellie. Deep breaths. So we started looking around the house for more candy, more sweets, and then the only things we had left were like the specialty Kit Kats from Japan, from when we went to Japan. And so we started filling the treat bowl with that, and then the kids stopped coming. Hello, hello. How are you? Did Jaku pass me? That one chomped me.
Oh, rude.
We done?
We good?
I think so.
I think so.
Run!
Stop copying me!
I said it first. We're just twins. Twinsies.
Do you already? Okay.
What?
I didn't realize you pushed it in already.
Oh, did you want to look around more? It spawned right there. It's
No.
Oh, I see it. I see it. The kidnapper. The kidnapper. There's the things behind you too. Oh my god.
Let's go, let's go.
Go, go.
Cop.
Behind you. No! Give me a second. What is this thing hanging off of you?
My legs.
My leg. Literally one room. Exactly. We were right there.
I should have just ran. You were right.
Immediately went to hide. Jeez, these crystals are expensive. You have a 15k one though.
Mm-hmm.
In my heart, I made that. Only 1 health. Jesus, why did they do this?
Maybe because we have so many stacked in the ship.
Another HP. Listen. That's for the road.
Listen.
Listen.
We have 250k almost. Just buy everything.
I don't need any more speed though. You want a double jump?
I want a little bit of speed.
Stamina.
By a little bit. I mean all of it.
Oh wait, a cart! We need a
Sure,
cart.
there wasn't any string.
We need another cart.
Right you are. Ooh. Should we get the little card too? There is. Oh, there is.
What does it fit?
The cannon.
Do we have a cannon? We don't have a cannon.
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet, we don't.
yet. Okay, yeah.
Here, go ahead. It's 18k.
It's so cheap. It's like.
Oh, okay. Oops, sorry.
Ow!
I didn't know how much was in there. Or how much it was. Whee!
Whee! Oh yeah, I forgot I can fly.
Can you still use the bug to get outside of this room? You can go outside of this room? What's the bug? There's a bug.
What bug? No.
Will we get stuck? This is different. I need stamina. There's a bug?
Stamina.
Stamina, eh
There
eh.
used to be at least.
Waka waka, eh eh. Stamina. Sangarewa.
Oh my god.
What's in there?
There's nothing
Okay. Have to use the gravity device and get hit by a baseball bat. For here? Is there a gravity thing? There is not.
But you
No
can't get
duck
out from
bucket?
here.
This is the duck bucket.
Because you can fly up here with the.
Okay,
Waiting.
nothing.
We're
Heavily
going, we're going.
innocent. Ah! There's all your stuff. Go ahead
I
and
might need one of these.
this one first. Oops.
What happened to the shotgun?
I don't recall using the shotgun.
Yeah, why did you run out of power?
Here you go.
Wait. Oh wait, never mind.
My gun. I like having multiple blap blaps in case I miss the first one. The shotgun only have 4 chances.
Blah blah.
Can I have this reach?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can I have this
Do
health?
I have the upgrade that lets me? No.
Health?
Yeah, you can take everything. Oops, sorry.
That scared me.
How dare you touch it?
Do you want this? You can have it. It's fine. It's yours. I'm good with 110, 111. I can't. Why is it a small one only? Oh, the big one will. The big one will be at the
Put
at
this
the
in
place.
pockets.
Whee!
A little pocket card.
Oh, I hug you. Hold on. I think I have a command for that. I don't recall.
Do you? I don't recall.
Let me see. Yee! I hope you feel better, Post Lemony. I love you. Hello,
Monsters.
monsters.
Death. No face.
Oh,
A new item.
empty room.
Who opened the door?
Me.
Oh, you did.
Whoa! What is this?
It's not very valuable for
Potion.
how big it is.
That's true. It'll be good for setting things on top of. I'm really good at opening doors and not seeing what's behind them. Not something over 40. Oh, I hope you get some rest soon. Enjoy your lick. Ah, a barrel. Oh, this is a very hazardous cart. Just this, and then yeah, an explosive and that, and then I have a gun. So
Yeah. At least the souls
well, if anything happens to me,
The eyeball on the roof.
ugh, goodness, the eyeball.
No, there's another one.
No, there's at least two.
2 eyeballs.
It's bullying me. Any third ones? Hello? No. Okay.
So there's new items, new monsters. I think we've encountered this
New item. Look at this.
plant. It's a scythe. A sickle.
An ice pick.
An ice pick. The Lara
Ice
Croft
for
item.
ice
Yeah.
climbing.
It's my prescriptions. My psych meds. Antipsychosis
Your vitamins.
meds. My M&Ms.
Oh, no face. My favorite.
Did you see?
If it saw me, it would be. Oh, there it is. Hush, little baby,
Hurry.
don't you? So many dreams now. There we go.
The way it really looked like you were rocking it to sleep.
Yeah, rocking the baby.
Yeah. There's this I don't know what it's called, but it kind of looks like a fly trap. When it spawns on the ground and it kind of like grows out of the ground, and then like it like blows this pink air at you, and if you get hit with it, you grow wings, and it makes you fly towards it, and then it'll chomp your face if you get too close. I'm just stacking. Should we? I was gonna just stack these and keep going. But if...
Yeah, there's like this super annoying room ahead.
can drop all the
Like
valuables.
I guess.
If you want to finish it, we can. I can also
I
go
wanna
look for the
finish
next
it.
one. Okay. I'll go look for the next one.
Put this here. Yeah. I'll come with the money bag.
Mum. If I encounter any monsters, though, I fear that's it for me. Talking about that room? Didn't look like there was any doors. Latte. That's not a door. We proceed this way then. And then there's also a dog that you can pet. And I think you have to pet it. Or else. Oh boy.
Hello.
Hello.
This fun and interactive room.
I check this way. Oh. Well, this is a way. I mean, this is a extraction. Woo!
It's an extraction?
Yeah.
Oh. Ew. I mean, we can leave it for last.
Yeah.
Just come here with one giant money bag. Toss it into the pit. Oh, careful you don't fall off.
Yeah. See if it's
And then
still
there's
there.
the second eye somewhere. Possibly. Okay.
Can I just
no,
shoot
this
it?
time.
If I'm looking at it, can I just shoot it
Maybe.
or do I drop everything? I heard a... Gotta get your meal. Okay.
A thing.
I hear the extraction. Here it is.
What do you hear?
Huh?
What do you hear?
I heard the extraction. Here.
Oh.
Oh gosh. Whoa. A fan. Is there something there? Animal?
No. No, what is that? Halt! What are you?
Ew. Oh gosh! I didn't know it was already. Okay, sure.
It was already, yeah.
It just walked up to me and I was like, okay.
Huntsman. Did he get you?
Yeah! There's 2 guitars upstairs. Oh, and a server? There's a server upstairs.
There's a demon trudge.
What? Is he dying? You're so brave.
You might have to shoot it. Yep. Again. Again! Oh, just in time. Oh. Good job.
Oh my god.
No, Ida.
Come on, animal. My gun, my gun! Help. Is it bigger? Don't self-destruct.
I almost did. I just wanted to... that it doesn't break this one.
Jaku carries in this game. Guitars upstairs, yes. And the server. Whoa.
And the server. Oh yeah, there it is.
If I drop this... Oh! Yeah, I'll just walk it down the stairs. You can take that one. What's in this one? Nothing. I think we have a lot. Did I check this room already? We did. It's so dark in here. What?
I'm extra laggy today.
Wonder if it's me. It's probably me.
Who knows?
My face itchy. Everybody hydrate.
Just don't rub your eyeballs. Oh, yeah,
I
okay.
already
Right.
did. Let me take an allergy pill. Oh,
The anti-cat pills.
anti-cat. Are we pushing this all in?
We could, yeah.
Okay.
I'll just toss this in.
Make room. Might need to carry that. Whee! Oh, Jaku!
Well, minus one card, I guess.
It's fine.
I still have the mini card.
That's true. Looks like there's a big item in the next room. Oh, not too bad. Anybody leave a diamond in the dookie hole? No. Oh, that's not anything. Great. So many big things. At least we don't have to carry anything big into the final one. There's another server in here.
Wonderful.
I think it should go in first. Ah. And then we lay it. Oh, that works too. Into the corner. We get the cart back, right?
Yeah.
At the end of this. Lovely.
Wait, why did I hear it? The game gave me a sound effect that I saw something, but I don't see anything.
Something sees you.
Oh, the eyeball. The eyeball
Small
ready to
things here.
snatch. I hear. Wow.
Lots
baby.
of small things here. Was No Face in this one too?
Which one?
No Face? Or was that in the
That
last
was a
one?
no face, yeah.
Can you
No,
take
it
this
wasn't
when you're
this.
ready?
Got it.
Thanks. I'm gonna get the cart.
Yeah.
I heard something. Stop it! Why is it always when I go off on my own? Please have mercy. I'm just a girl.
What's up?
It was nominal.
Phenomenal.
It's gone, I think.
Close the door.
Lost interest. Lots of big things in the cart.
Why is this room full of...
Stop it! Thank you. What is this? A scooter. A snowmobile.
Oh!
I'm gonna get
What
all
happens
this.
if we touch it?
I'm gonna get all the small stuff in the next room before I put these big things in there.
Alright, I'll take the... Oh! That's...
Hey, I have a indestructible drone, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think we need it for this.
Camera. No, I just forgot we had it. Why do I hear trudge?
Remembered, but I didn't really see anything I want to use it on.
I gasped and inhaled some spit.
Sniffles. Oops.
Ooh. I missed. I got the first one.
So many items.
A
That's a
Fitbit.
cheap bonsai tree.
Listen. I may have a...
Watch out for the eyes.
I can't. I can't. Thank you. I couldn't aim high enough for it.
Oh.
Okay. Why do I hear the other monsters even though they're not in this map?
You're going crazy.
I
There's a
know.
monster that makes you hear other monsters.
Actually, Trudge is in this map.
Anemic. He is, yeah.
I heard the dynamite things. Wait, those are also in this map. Okay. Maybe I'm not crazy.
That's also true.
Maybe I'm not crazy at all. There's one more item over there.
Whoop!
Da, 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 da. Oh, they're having a meeting here. Oops. Take this one first. A bunch of small items. Who up repoing? Me and Jaku! Hi, Taya! Oh. Okay.
Hello, hello.
It didn't take damage, so it doesn't... It's fine. Does it go faster if I'm not moving? It still goes faster if I... It does go faster if I'm not moving. Latte. Huh? Oh, it's this one. I was like, I left something here. I swear I did. Oh, Taya, I went to the store like the day we talked about donut molds. I went to the store to look for one and I couldn't find one. I went to Home Goods. I went to TJ Maxx. I think I also went to Target. I didn't find it at Target. But it is in Amazon and I don't want to... So, how are we gonna do this?
You push this in.
Uh-huh.
And I will start eating the other items.
Okay.
Do it.
Hold on. Okay.
I hear Hansi.
It's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
You silly little...
You waited until we were about to do it, too.
He was just behind the corner, biding his time.
He heard the plan.
Ugh.
Oh! No!
Lag.
Oh, these are almost falling into the hole. Can you pull the cart?
I can put this one in the car.
Can you pull the cart? Wait, can you pull the cart?
Let me...
It's just
Cart.
very
The cart.
precariously... Okay.
just coming apart.
Got mine at Michael's. Michael's! I haven't checked that. I didn't check that. Why didn't I... I should check that. I love going to Michael's. Something about craft stores makes me feel crafty, even though when I buy something, I don't use it ever.
Classic.
I don't want to waste it.
Buying 10,000 pens, never using them.
Oh my goodness, yes. Seraph, thank you for the hydrate. I've got my tea. Today's tea is Rubio's chai.
No, these two things are barely worth anything.
I will take
just,
one. I'll take the one that is worth the most.
Did you get shot, by the way? I didn't see.
No, but I'm at 47. I mean 74. I'm one shot, but you're fine. Are you also one shot? Because I'd rather give you health.
I'm fine. I'm over 100.
No!
Goodbye. I'm sure.
Are you okay? No! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! I can't. Okay. Let's put you in here, buddy. The bat is under the map. Is this the last one? No, it's not. Let me look for the last one. Come with me. Okay, it's this way. Okay, okay, we got this. Ah! Jaku, stop! Okay. Jaku, stop! Oh my goodness. I had you perfect.
No!
It was so quiet! What do you mean?
I killed us. I didn't know it would toss me down from your perfect placement.
Man. Wait.
I just wanted to say good luck.
I have the bat!
No!
Ah!
I have infinite reach.
I didn't even bother. I didn't even bother extending my reach. Well, why did I have a feeling that was going to be our last game? Again!
Well,
Hi, Jake.
it was our favorite map after all. Oh, I'm gonna get some water.
Okay. I heckin' hate mechanics. Oh my goodness. Okay, also a stretch. Everybody de-shrimp. You know who you are.
I've been de-shrimping all day. My back hurt.
You're working out your back muscles that aren't often used because of how often you shrimp. Wow. I'm doing good. How was your Halloween? I got scared. I got scared by this one.
The new monster? A doll? Wow!
All the noisy stuff.
That's like so cool.
Oops. Where's the cart?
Still wish we had 3 aliens on this map.
We've gotten that before, right? Right from the start? Just
Huh?
We've gotten that before, right? Right from the start, it was like 3.
Yeah.
3
we
aliens.
had
The very first map was just 3
4 aliens, I think. I got so unlucky with the trudge. Like the first hit didn't hurt me almost at all. And then I got bounced around by the skulls. And then the second hit got me through the wall.
Yeah, I can do that. Oops.
And yeah, and I was still alive after that. I had 20 HP and then one last skull like slowly walked up to me while I was still recovering from the explosion. And I was like, no, go away! And
You
it
got
didn't, yeah.
warlorded,
And
damn.
I died to a lowly skull. Feels bad.
Duck and clown. Oh god. Quiet didn't do much. Did you hand out candy? Wow, why does it feel like we have nothing? Why does it feel like we're poor?
We are weak, we are poor.
Used to making a
least
lot
we
of
have a
money, I
duck.
guess. We don't get many trick-or-treaters. The trick is to decorate like crazy. Put up lights outside your place. Decorate your door. And then, porch light on. And yeah. Then they'll see it and then they'll come. Up-a-da-ba-da-ba-da. Whoa, whoa. Okay, this one, a globe. Excuse me. Where cart? There's like 3 items in the other room. IBRB. 3 items in the safe. Like that's... These guys are rich in this house.
Finally.
Usually I only have 1 item in the safe. Sometimes there's nothing. It's just there for decorative purposes. Why is it already so dark?
Can we make it back before clown?
Yes. 22? That's not bad.
It's a respectable amount.
Heckin' rich.
I wish I had $22,000.
Same. Need a bat signal to summon all the trick-or-treaters, right? I think last year we had a lot of high schoolers. And they would like come up with their school backpack instead of like a candy bucket. And I was like, aw, you poor thing. But then
It's not the same.
I see people do that in like doorbell camera footage, so I guess it's normal. I think we need to press it again.
Dance! Nice.
I tried! It bit me once. Then Taya said the donut molds are in Marshall's.
Michaels.
Michael's. Did I say something else?
Look what we done. You said Marshalls.
That's a different store. Never mind. Michael's, the craft store. There's like 3 speed. You want them?
Level 1 trank gun. Pretty good.
Only.
Let's get them for you.
Boom, boom. Thanks. Speedy Ellie.
Gun for me, speed for you.
I think you also need
Unless you want the
speed
gun.
so you can outrun Trudge next time.
Listen, Trudge and the little skulls are like the 2 enemies I should know how to not die to by now.
2 speed.
Besides, I had
fast.
like 5 speed on the previous.
A bag is a bag to acquire
Speed
candy.
didn't save me
That's
there.
true, that's true. I had a bag
I need brain
prepared.
cells.
Need brain cells. I had extra bags prepared because I have stuff from Disney, Tokyo Disney Japan, from when we were in Japan, and I was like, you need a bag.
Disney.
Well. I was thinking I could give them a bag. I can't get these things. Were you able to get them? There's a cup. I think I need help with this one. Ooh. Help with cup.
Cup. We could just put it on the cart
It fits.
and...
I've let go. Ooh. Into the cup. Into the mug. Oh,
Does it
it's
go there?
rotating.
It kinda...
I'm gonna go into the vent. Right here. Yeah, I was gonna just throw them away, so I was like, may as well hand it out. And you would be like, you know. Is it Tokyo Disney? I have too much! No way. Bruh. You're joking. Avenge me! Get his ass!
You.
You got stunned while standing up. That's crazy.
Yeah, whatever. I can't kill you anyway.
Use my head to beat him up. Brah. Brah.
I tried screaming Huntsman, but I don't think...
No, I
think you were
didn't
too
hear
funny.
it. I was yapping so comfortably.
I'm gonna quickly check that there is no big items here.
Oh my god, we have another one to do too. Ah! Oh my god, a raid.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Yap, 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 yap.
Oh. Ellie's dead again. In the meantime, I'm gonna sip my tea. I'm back. That's the one I couldn't get earlier. I got it.
Oh, that one. I thought there was only one thing at the top.
No, there were two, and the other one was too small.
Yeah, that little piece thing is always like this lens.
It's another one.
There's a duck in the tent.
It's easier, at least. What is this? What does a red bin mean? Jaku? I hate these rooms now because they sound squishy. Hey, Jaku.
Hello, there is one item here.
Did I hear you? Oh. Wail in despair. Take this with me. Just in case. Because I think there's also a back room. Ah, well, look at that. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Why am I stuck? Not stuck anymore. Okay. I think there's a doll head. Hopefully not the back rooms. Right. That's a different. That's a different back rooms. Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Getting all the good stuff.
Ah. Isn't this one fragile?
Oh, yeah, it's super fragile. It's like a diamond. Treated as a diamond.
Yep. Well. Trying not to yap now. Because the huntsman hates me specifically. This way? Ah. Get this in there. Me. Me when I'm yapping and then get blasted. Interesting. Mid tier?
It's me.
Mid tier quality. Ew. Oh god. Turn it around. Mid tier quality portraits of humans remembering something funny. Okay. if I just take this straight to the extraction point, it won't fly away, right? Emmy, hello! Redeemed one, oh well? You first. Indeed you are. And except it's me. I'm first. Hi, hello, how are you?
Everything.
Husband!
Did we miss something?
Husband.
Thank you for telling me your life. Ended for that, but at least
Avenge
we can
me!
make some money. Revenge!
Beat up the elderly!
Die! Fool.
I'm doing good. I hope you are too. How's your weekend? I don't recall what I did over the weekend. Oh, I had my appointment and they did tests. Guess what my vitamin D levels are? Apparently, my friend said it's normal for people to be in my part of the world to be deficient in vitamin D, but like the normal levels is like 20 to 80. I was at 17. So we went to the store to like check, or not check, but like to buy, thank you, to buy supplements. And we were like, what? Oh, thank you. No. That's my... We missed one. It was like 1,000 IU, 5,000 IU, and then 10,000 IU. And I looked it up, and the normal amount to take would be like 4,000 to 5,000 or something like that. So I just got 5,000, right? But then my doctor responded to the results, and then she was like, I've prescribed you 50,000 IU. And I was like, oh. So now I'm on 50,000 of vitamin D. LOL. Get some sunlight, y'all. There's two health upgrades. Yep. Touch grass, y'all. Yeah, I don't like drinking milk. And I also avoid the sun a lot. So
I mean,
and
do you
then
avoid the sun or do you just avoid going out?
both. I avoid going out, which is unfortunately where the sun is. So
Yeah.
you really are a vampire. I live in
Vampire.
I live in the Twilight area. I think we get like 3 weeks. Is it weeks or 3 months of sunlight? Whatever. The Pacific Northwest is just... Yeah! I can't go in the sun, Bella. I'll glitter. I start glimmering.
Is that how it works?
The
Twilight vampire effect.
yeah. Yes, we save money. Was there any stamina? This is the skin of a killer, Bella.
Oh, yes, I got stamina.
Is that for me? Is this for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks. 2 speed, 1 stamina. I feel fast.
1 health, 1 strength, 1 range.
I miss
And a
when...
gun.
Ooh, I love this map. I miss when studios would make parodies of movies. Because they were doing another marathon of the Twilight movies on YouTube for free. And I was like, I really want to watch the parody one though. I think Hunger Games also had a parody version.
The real thing? Nah. Parody's where it's at.
I'd watch the real thing too, but when the movies are too serious, I also need the parody one to to balance it out. You know? Vampires suck. Is that what it's called? Is that what it's called?
Vampires suck?
Man, I wonder why they don't make those anymore. They even... Don't eat me, please. Please. Oh no! Oh no! I almost fell off trying to grab it.
Yeah.
To this day, I'm a Twilight hater. No! I can't take it seriously, but...
Every time I see this version, I connect.
I connect.
Ew.
The first movie, I was like, hey, and then as it went on, I was kind of like, hmm.
This is kind of weird. What movie did we see that had Edward actor?
Mikey
can't remember.
17. Mickey 17. Mikey? Mickey.
Oh yeah, that one.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, he is. You little marshmallow.
We can beat this one up.
You can beat everyone up.
They're good actors. Twilight was just weird. I don't know what Kristen Stewart was doing, but Book Bella was a lot more unhinged and a lot more unhinged and a lot better. I prefer Book Bella. And then I know to this day, what's his name? Robert Pattinson would like hate on Twilight and like I think he hated filming that. Part of me wishes they made a more book accurate version, but at the same time, like the original is just so iconic in a funny, not serious way. I love the parodies though, like I hear that the not reboot, they're remaking Harry Potter into a series, and each season will be a book. What's this? I just feel like the book versions of the characters, like Book Bella, is just superior.
There's like a million tiny things here.
And then I think Katniss in Hunger Games. I don't recall anymore, but I remember the parody of that one too.
Just think
I don't they make
about
parody
how the
movies
maker
anymore.
makes me
I usually hate comedies, but the parody movies. Maybe because I've read the books.
Can we talk about how obvious this explosion is?
It reminds me of those abridged series. Do people still make abridged videos of anime?
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah.
Probably the early
I think the ones I used to watch were abridged Naruto videos. I was such a Naruto nerd in my youth. I would make my own OCs and everything. I don't think they do anymore. Kids these days. Where's the culture gone?
Just YouTube shorts now.
Anything above the bed? Anything below the bed? Nothing. Back in the good old days.
Like in the good old days. Now it's top 10 things I wish I knew. Top 10 things you need to know before you...
Enjoy your lurk. Enjoy your lurk, Cam. Oh, happy... What month is it? November? Happy November! Happy November!
Happy November.
This is the month I get.
It's one of the members.
Uh-oh.
What, bro? What was that?
I think a mushroom. It's super fragile for some reason. Machinimas are
bad.
gone too. Damn. Really unfortunate too, because some people made a career out of that. Here. I used to be obsessed with Sims 2 Oh, I used to voice in those.
Hold on.
Wait. Maybe I shouldn't say
Wait.
anything. No. No, no, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Don't look at me like that. If you've heard my voice before in those old YouTube videos, you didn't. You didn't. See. This way? I don't remember if we've been upstairs that way. Another mushroom. This one better not break. Ah. Why are you still squinting at me?
Just here.
We know a niche micro internet celebrity. No, 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 no. No. Is this all? Man. At least famous. No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
We go question mark.
Yeah. Are you hurt at all?
Alright. Nope.
This one's just a straight haul. I can probably tumble if I hit my stamina. Everything just turns off. Wrong way. This way. It's the head and marshmallow. The head. Sees you.
Um, 10 damage. I'm gonna hit this thing.
Head. Okay, okay.
Go!
Easy. It's like we didn't even lose any HP.
Easy. Well,
Roleplaying on Tumblr? I would roleplay on
Almost
Gaia.
in where?
Gaia Online.
Oh, guy online.
That's where I would roleplay. That's my stomping grounds.
Did you ever play Neopets?
I kept forgetting my account, I think. 17k feather drone? You think we need it?
We could, yeah. There's a gun, Tao. Do you want the gun?
How much?
The blah blah.
I would-
20.
I would like the
Gun's
blah
only
blah.
20, Let's get blah blah blah. You can get the drone too, I guess. There really isn't any upgrade. I want, unless there's something you want.
I think
You
I
could
just
take
got
range.
stamina. What? Oh my god, my poor tumble. Whee!
It's so cute how it wiggles the arms.
I don't know
Little
Fantage, unfortunately. Maybe I do. I don't remember the names of things. There's a lot of websites
Fantage?
where you could like customize your avatar, but yeah, they don't exist anymore. I remember doing drawing commissions on Gaia so I could look cute.
Do you want range?
Yeah. Do you have range already?
Yeah, I do.
Ah. You want stamina?
Yas.
Flash games.
Rest in peace.
Hello. Housekeeping. Let's just not forget it because it's so flat.
You know. Oh, we're gonna forget.
Part of the wall.
What is this? A coffin? Da, 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 da.
Oh, if we break it, does a vampire come out? Oh gosh. Need
Coffin dance
mechanic.
starts
That's
to
where we
play.
died. We were at level 10 or something and we died in mechanic. I should probably help you.
Because of me.
No. Hecking no
I
face is just
killed
too
us.
quiet. Did you see no face behind me?
No.
Yeah.
I was looking the other direction. But
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything.
I just
either, yeah.
I just died. I just exploded. I heard a scream and then I blew up.
Yeah. You could have survived if I didn't press the E and fall from the barrel.
He is just talking. It's the I think did you press space? That one launches
I
you.
just pressed E and started talking and I dropped from the thing. I think because I grow the legs or arms or whatever come dangling. It moved me a little bit and dropped.
Yeah, I had you perfectly perched too. It's fine. It's okay. This is a new room. Look at the new room.
Curious. Let's see. Ooh, it's big.
Dining room.
A vampire dining room.
It. Or the main course. Hey. Good. Am I on the am I on the plate properly? Open the door. Did you open the door? You look like you're seated.
Oh, if only a handsome vampire would come and devour me.
This guy.
What an unfortunate event it would be.
This is the vampire right there. There's a portrait of him. Did I open that?
I'll skip.
Or it could be this one. With the sunglasses and the fur hat. Check this already?
Everyone is a vampire.
Everyone.
Nothing I like. There is ocarina.
Okay. We have 3. We have eyes. Should we complete the first one? With all this stuff?
I think I saw a monster. Did I? No. Must have been the wind.
It's just your imagination. There's nothing here. We actually haven't seen anything this map yet. Ah! I haven't seen anything this map, huh? famous last words. I'm jinxing us. I've been playing more Apex lately as well. Been playing less Overwatch and more Apex. Which is unfortunate because they both have such cute skins out right now. I think there's a Kiriko skin that I want. Even though I don't play her, not really. But Apex has a lot of cute skins coming out next season. On the 4th, which is tomorrow.
Oh,
Long, long time ago. Is that usually the song that plays? I can't fit through the door with this coffin in the way. Never mind, I can.
don't forget the painting.
Coffin first.
And this guy.
Easy money.
Like a...
You're good. No, no, no. I think it broke. I heard the crunch.
Oh! I heard the crunch too, and I saw some splinters. How did it break?
I don't know. I think just the corner hit it.
The backside, maybe. Ah. That comes off from my pension.
Hello, monsters. We haven't seen anyone. What is this?
We forgot to spawn the monsters. Well. Well.
I
It's
shredded.
starting to turn into a competition now.
I shredded the Declaration of Independence. There's a doll. I missed.
I hear an enemy.
This one's really close. We skip this one then? What is that? Ew. It's throwing bombs. Did I shoot you, Jaku? Don't. Ah! What the hell? Jaku, what did I do? I dropped my gun. Oh my god. What the hell? I can't destroy the small thing that comes after you. I guess you just gotta run? That was a lot of my HP too. How much is it worth? 7k. I don't know if it was worth that much. I'm gonna revive you here. Even though this is the closest one, okay? Jaku, are you speaking? It kinda looks like you are, but can't tell. Stay there. Well, we've met a new friend. It was gross. Used up all my bullets. Looks like if you get too close, it'll like blow up on you. Would it be this way then? Yeah, is there anything here? Nothing? Okay. I'll just revive you now. I'm also at 25 HP. I'll give you 10. Save me. Save me. It doesn't immediately let you talk.
Ow! It doesn't.
Bonked. Okay.
Well, that was something.
Oh, it's interesting. Track gun is over there. Yeah, I wouldn't let you near it. Wow. No more greeting the monsters. It's only housekeeping and tax collection from now on.
Monsters.
No more monsters.
I'm not that monster. It's ugly.
Did we see the name of it? I did not.
I didn't check. No.
Now I have to run all the way back, and then we're gonna see that monster, and then there's gonna be
Who knows what else?
5 of them on the way out.
Just those guys.
Striking monster greeter. Striking monster greeter off the resume. Whoa! Sorry, you scared me.
Monster breeder?
Monster breeder?
Monster greeter. Hi, my name's Jaku, and I'm a monster greeter. My budget is $10 million.
I'd love that. I think that's it. Would you like to run back to the ship? And I'll...
Me?
Yes, you.
Are you sure?
Yes. I'll give you a 10-second head start.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Just kill me.
1 Mississippi. I can still hear you, so I'll give you another 5 seconds. What is it? What is it? I'm curious.
It's some sort of thing on the roof and it brings down lightning.
What?
Yeah,
Is it
it
gone?
was like it was. Oh, there it is. Oh, it is. It's stuck in that room. Ew.
Hey, so I don't know if we're making it out of here. Do you want to just go together, or do you want to just go? Did you go?
It dies like the rest.
You killed it!
Yeah.
What a brave little fox you are.
They turn really sad once I poked him with the tranquilizer. It's
Okay.
4K, so it's not counted as a big enemy.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10. Right? I want to ensure our survival this round, so I might keep counting. Keep yapping. You can keep yapping, right? Gosh. This month, I think, okay, on the 17th, Monday, there will be no stream. Actually, that whole week I might be out because I return from a trip on the 17th, and then the next day after that I might be recovering because, yeah. When you come back from a trip, you're usually like super tired and sluggish, right? You want to like relax the next day? No. I'm gonna... No, I'm first. Hi, Subuko. How are you? Looks like Jaku made it back. It's heckin' dark. My flashlight doesn't do anything. Okay. Excuse me. Excuse me.
I got it!
Get out! Why was it just waiting there?
It was camping the truck all the time.
Ooh, indestructible drug. Oh, there's a bat too. You want the bat?
Is there strength? No.
My heart. It launched a booger at me and then I thought I was gonna blow up. So I ran for it and then the other thing was there.
Yeah, it was floating in the truck the whole time. I was like, uh-oh. I mean, I don't need the bats yet.
I want this.
Ah!
Stay in the thing.
Give me HP. 4K.
There's
A
9K.
couple tiny ones.
9K is pretty cheap, right?
Double range.
I used up all my bullets actually. And then I think you used some strength too.
Fine.
All I need is stamina. Do we have 5K for stamina? You want another stamina?
Yeah.
Ooh, a jump. Did you want one of these?
Ooh, jump, maybe. Maybe I want to jump instead. Get the jump and that's
Hydrate.
as good as they come.
The devs went all out with these new monsters. They're pretty good.
They are.
Jaku pop.
Pop, pop.
Recharge, my good. Oops. There we go.
How much energy? Ooh, plenty. Plenty, and I can go over 100 with this, and we all good.
I'm at
Back in
82.
track. Yeah.
That's fine. How much damage does the no face do?
Yeah.
Ew, this map.
100.
Oh, level 5. 100?
No face is 100.
Heck.
Unless it's crouching 50, then damage then.
Oh, but it gets you like multiple times though. Hello! Monsters! I have a fire extinguisher.
What is this? What are these called in English?
Stapler. Stapler, right?
I knew that. A stapler.
Look.
Oh, it's not bright. It would be funny if you could blind.
Why can't we have these?
Blind.
Why can't we have a
Yeah.
flashlight upgrade or something?
Do we really need that? Maybe
Me
sometimes.
blind as hell.
Nice to see.
In the other house too. There's a server here. Jaku, bring the cart.
Yeah.
Me blind. Me constantly squinting.
That's because you rub your eyeballs.
Listen. I'm just giving them a massage. I can't for the life of me call it a fire extinguisher. I always mess up and say fire hydrant. Portable fire hydrant, I guess. Whoa.
There we go. A
The
little bit
less-
of a struggle,
Ah!
but
Stupid door.
where are we going here?
I let go. Anything else? Go and sit down at a table set for two. Finally, I'm forced to face the truth. Huh. What's the way upstairs? Not over you.
I can't. Dad.
Little baby jumps. Little baby hops. There's a
Little
door
baby
this
double
way. A downstairs.
Like
Cart,
the
please.
double jump upgrade.
Probably need it. Yes, there's something down here. Hmm? A bevy. bevy, please. A bevy, please. Suddenly forced to face the
Yeah, what the-
truth. A 900 bonsai. A 600 bonsai.
Correction.
Who has $600? Who has $569 staplers? Like a 1,000 bonsai. No matter what you say,
Something's gonna come and greet us, man. On these very stairs, as you can't see. Hello? Monster!
Hello,
You
monsters.
forgot to spawn the monsters again.
That's a good thing. Hello.
Oh, this thing. Wait! Wait!
Left it in the middle.
In the middle. Yep.
We opened it in two different. Should we just finish the first one? These are so far.
They are, but the cart is so empty.
Whoops.
What was that?
I broke the door.
Oh, you're too strong.
Too strong with my 0 strength.
You don't need strength. You have an innate ability.
Haha.
Silly door!
Do I have 2 jumps? I don't. Just feels like I do.
Oh, I do. My double baby jumps.
Little hops. Wow. Is that marshmallow or
Is that-
trudge? That was marshmallow, right?
To this day, I don't know. I only know No Face. Because I love him.
Was there something here? Oh. Ah, there you are.
Where is it, item? Oh, oh, oh. Feel something.
Oh, what is
happening
that?
Here. Oh, this is an extraction. A balloon?
Suspicious. Can I pop it?
Well, we didn't die immediately looking at it, though. I don't know if we should pop.
Nothing happened when I
Wow.
shot it. Suspicious.
It's just a balloon. Okay. I guess I'll go back to extra.
I'm so curious. So curious. I'm so curious. I don't want to be alone. Bad things happen when I'm alone. Hello. This thing is gonna get caught or stuck. Pull, 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 pull.
Help. Help.
That's in, right? It's in,
Yeah.
it's in, it's in. The gold-plated stapler.
Why do we get just one balloon? It's so suspicious.
I
The
shot it and
ambient is
nothing
so
happened.
spooky.
I almost grabbed it too.
I probably would have grabbed it. It looked like an item. It just.
Maybe it is an item.
Well, yeah.
It's still there.
What?
Should I touch? Should I touch? I hear the
Oh,
huntsman.
I saw another one.
Another what?
Another balloon.
Are you okay?
No!
I think we have 100 HP in the truck. If you want it.
I'm gonna go and eat it.
There's another balloon. I'm gonna hide until you get back.
Found your meds. Don't forget to hydrate.
All right. Okay. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Ooh, over the weekend I made pho, and it was actually good. It was delicious. And I think I'll make it again soon. I have also, what is it called? Broth? Extra broth. So if I want more, I just have to make noodles for it, and then assemble a bowl. Why are there so many balloons? Hey, why are there so many? Okay, it's so unsettling. They're just there. What do you mean? Why are there so many balloons? And it's like the deeper.
Hello?
Jaku, there's so many balloons.
Many balloons?
So many.
Are you sure? Oh my gosh. They're everywhere.
It's a party.
Somebody's throwing a party. And we weren't invited.
I'm scared. I'm gonna look for the extraction, but this is freaky.
There's a new item up here. A jackhammer.
Gosh. A Fitbit. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. The thing is, how are we gonna get the cart through this, you know? No, 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 no. What was that? That was scared. Jaku!
I saw him.
Did you see him?
I saw the little birthday boy. Yeah.
If you pop a balloon, he like goes to it. The door fell.
Yeah, I heard the stomps.
The door fell onto a balloon and
I heard this stomps.
I
He
was-
was like jump, 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 going like crazy. But he just walked past me.
I didn't pop it though, the door did. But still, he got mad at me. What do we do? Should we just pop it all? Is there anywhere to hide here? There's places here to hide, right? I really want to know.
You wanna know what happens if we pop the balloon?
Yeah, there's like 3 balloons down here.
Okay. Can you come up here? Let's just whip out the guns and pop the balloon and wait for the party boy.
I've tried shooting the balloons before, it didn't pop. Where's the cart?
Yeah, but let's like touch them. It's right next to you.
I'm so scared.
Let's look.
Just do it. Pop all the balloons. Should I do?
I mean, yeah, come put the thing down first.
I made it through.
All right. Do
can
it,
you-
Ellie. Pop the balloon.
Nothing. I think you have to touch
no,
it.
No, like touch it. Touch it.
Oh.
Touch it. Hello? Hello?
I wonder if it's per room.
Maybe it's despawned?
Pop these.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's despawned. Or it's so far away, didn't hear. Oh, what is this? I still don't know what I know what it.
What is that?
Sorry, pal. It's called Gambit.
Gambit.
I'm kind of curious though. Maybe I shouldn't have.
This? A cell phone. You got any games on your phone?
Got any games on your phone?
Okay. Well, it was an item that touched it, so maybe it needs to be an item. It did beat me up though already.
Wait, what? The
Huh?
phone! Somebody's calling the phone!
Answer it. I'm just kidding. Let it ring. I never answer my phone.
I'm not gonna answer that.
I never answer my phone either. People know to just text me.
If it's important, they can send me a text later.
Exactly. Whoa, so many. Is this a Rasmussen? Rasmussen. Huh. Whoa. They have a radioactive dog bowl with a name.
Huntsman. Sorry, I missed.
What's that?
No, the birthday boy.
What? Oh my god.
Die! I know it's your birthday. I'm sorry. Sorry, little guy.
Interesting. Okay, it's not too bad. Someone's calling again.
No.
It just, I think it just checks to see what's there. So I guess the first time is guaranteed. And then the next couple times he just goes there and is like, my balloons. Jaku's also one. Oh, okay. I didn't see it land. I thought it fell off. Do you remember when we would beat up the alien and you were like, it's his birthday? And now they put in a...
Now they put an actual birthday boy.
They're listening to you.
It's not the alien's birthday anymore.
They're listening to you.
The alien was just a little guy. That little guy isn't that little guy. It's a little guy, but it's not a little guy. The alien is the true OG little guy.
Just because he cries. Are the balloons gone or are they still there?
I heard the balloons pop when the...
What the heck is this?
Oh, the jackhammer, yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay, I can't lift it. I'll go get the extraction. To heck.
I'll get the jackhammer.
Okay. I think that's it. Let's take this straight there. Finally, I'm forced to face the truth. No matter what I say, I'm not over you. It's so loud.
No, this thing isn't annoying at all.
Is it a way to like lift it up?
No, it's fine. I can just hold it in here.
Keep this. Okay. Do you want to run to the
Oh,
trucks?
that's loud. Just give me like 5 seconds, I'll be fine. It's not a
1
long way from
Mississippi,
here.
2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi. I always lose track at 7. 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi. Ready? Ready? Let's go. What was that? It just... Kid's got asthma. There's a kid.
Let me heal you.
Oh,
No!
it's a kid.
I need to heal you.
How much do you have?
Yeah, the kid just ran past me. I figured out what the gambit does.
What does it do?
He catches you and he opens his ugly mouth and there's like a wheel of fortune there. And it's a game and I hit the jackpot and it fully healed me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
Well,
I went to full health, so I could have healed you there, but
I see,
yeah.
I see. That's a lot of reach.
But there were a lot of red spots in the
Scary.
jackpot thing, so I got really lucky.
Very lucky indeed.
Shotgun.
I'm not good with the shotgun. Requires being
No
up
shotgun.
close and personal. And I am very impersonal.
Not for introverts. What about the laser gun then? It's basically the same thing but with range.
The laser gun? Laser gun? Oh, the photon blaster.
Yeah.
I mean, it is stronger. I do tend to lose it though. Should we get it? Should we get a cart? Oh, there is no cart.
Just get it, you know.
Yeah, the more weapons, the better.
The more weapons, the more weapons
Yeah,
to weapon with.
exactly.
Yeah.
Dunno. We're just so unathletic. We like do a limp tumble roll.
No speed. No tumble. I forget to use the tumble thing. Which is weird because back in the day,
I'm gonna kill people with this.
shoot,
How much HP you have? Are you full? Full?
kill them. Yeah, I can give you.
I'm good. Ah,
Get some stamina.
I'm
Let's
stamina,
go.
mina. Eh, eh. Yay!
Shakira.
Ba, 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 ba.
We survived the mechanic.
Hello! Housekeeping!
Vampires.
Hello! Oh, oh. Anything here? Huh? What? There's nothing
The
here.
laugh of a fool baby.
What? Full baby? Which one?
Fool baby.
Tall baby or
Fool baby.
Rugrat?
The fool baby.
Which one's that? Which one's that? Ah! Tall baby, tall baby, tall baby.
There's so many. Yeah, fool baby. Oh, it's a fool baby.
I need to pee.
Yeah. Hey, what is this room? Oh, a gazebo.
New room, new room.
No items. Disappointing. Much. Maybe the items are hidden.
Maybe it's above.
No.
Very small room,
Secret
but it's
jump
cute
quest.
still. Aha.
Oh,
An item. Look at this. Ta-da.
it's a bottle of shit.
Huh. Interesting painting. When your artist gets too lazy to finish the painting. We were just talking about you, buddy.
Nick, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
He's like holding his head. His head is in his hands. Everything's gone wrong. No one came to his birthday party.
Floating around like a cool little guy.
What have you done? Oh, a statue.
I'm sure he'll get the last laugh.
What's this? A racket. There's a statue in the corner.
Magnified.
Did you see it? Ba-dum, ba-dum. Whoa. Scared me.
Oh, wait, here. Oh, I'm blind.
It's pretty close, right? You need help. Oh. You're good, you got this. Big and strong. It's a no-face map. Did you hear me?
Hello?
Did you hear me?
What's that?
It's a no-face map.
No face. Oh, two silent enemies.
Oh, the alien too, right? The alien doesn't make noise?
Yeah.
Confirming.
Aliens quiet, yeah.
Oops. Welcome. I forgot I wasn't supposed to call you out.
Alien. No face. Just give us the headman dude. Oh god, I thought it was no face. Opening the door.
Just me. That's what I died to, right? Hmm. Oh. Oh!
Oops. Lag.
I shredded the Declaration of
Lag.
Independence.
Oh.
I opened the door and it
Just
just...
casual. We're gonna ignore this one?
Ignore what? We haven't even finished... There's a TV up here. We haven't even finished the first one.
It's happening.
TV.
It just cleans the entire level. Yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna bring this to the other extraction.
Should we just close the last... Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Where's the cart? Long, long time ago, I had my own little show. Ah, there it is. Guess I'll go upstairs.
Upstairs?
I'm going upstairs. Wah, 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 wah. What? Whole baby is here. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Just toss it down, right? Okay, I thought I died completely.
I saw a new enemy.
Oh well.
It was a little goblin.
Is he hard? Ew. Oh. It's just that thing. Stop! Whole baby here.
The little goblin is dead.
Told baby.
No!
Oh no.
Okay.
No! I couldn't catch it in
Okay.
time.
Sadness and sorrow.
Can we finish this one?
Yeah. I need to charge my gun anyway. Oh, I need to charge my gun anyway. Might as well.
I picked up the thing and it just rolled right off. Thank you. I don't know where I got her from. Thank you, thank you.
It's your fault?
It was like a globe thingy that fell. Ready?
Why do I do it like this? Oops.
something else that fell. You look tired. You look so eepy.
It's getting midnight here.
Yes. This last one. Another baby.
Tall babies just don't stop. I'll gonna carry the big box to the extraction.
Okay, I'll look for the next one then. Taking. I'll go the long way.
I forgot to charge my gun.
Jaku will be okay. This one's pretty
Hello?
close too. Hello? No, I'd rather not have to cross the stupid hole. On the way. What?
Should I bring this
It might be closer
box
to this one.
the
Well, there's a
yeah,
stairs.
oh. Yeah, there are no stairs on the I can just drag this slowly here.
All other mini things over here. La 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 la. Come on. I don't have the double jump. Never mind. It's another dining room. It is. Well, well. Don't mind if I do. Surprised there's no bread here. Those little goblet things too. I heard that they were making a Hogwarts Legacy 2. I wonder if they're gonna continue the story or if it's gonna be a whole new thing. I forgot to ask Sarah if if Disney in Halloween is like different. I really want to go to Universal again too. I want to go to a theme park. Na, 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 na. Ah, up here. I'm gonna make this. Watch. Oh. Okay. Yeah, totally made it. See, like that. Oh no.
Hello?
Hello. Ah! There's another thing up there, I just can't see it because there's things blocking. Oh, it's a ring. Nice. You sure showed me.
Yoink.
There's another
Did
extraction
you check
here.
that bedroom?
Bedroom? No, I didn't. I couldn't get up.
Yeah.
I couldn't hop up.
Hop, hop.
I don't got the hops. See, I can't do that.
Double jump OP. Oh no!
You okay?
There's a harp up there.
Oh.
Do we have any drones?
Yes. Other drone?
Yes. Oh, we have. Oh,
Yeah.
when did we get these?
That one can go to the last one. It's like almost... It's like super close to it. I'm gonna go finish the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
There's a tall baby laughing at me. I think it's laughing at you now. Anything here? Hmm. No big items, I guess. Okay. Oh! I'm dropping everything. Okay. Says there's something small over here. I wonder what it is. Under the bed? Oh. What could it be? What? Stop laughing.
There's still an item in this room.
It's one small thing, right? Now, I'll wait. So you don't have to carry it. This thing might, yoink me soon.
Yoink.
Yoink. Oh. So there's no more
Slipped.
item. There's no more item in this room.
Well, let's look.
This tall baby is...
There's no item. There's nothing. There is. There is. As a matter of fact, this is even better.
Oh. Oh. I see, I see.
See? See?
Wee wee.
All is forgiven. I was so scared when I was bringing the harp over this thing. How many times have I fallen here? Like twice?
Wait, wait. Oh my god. Jaku, please tell me you're alive. Wait! Wait! Okay, okay, okay. Listen. It wasn't intentional. I didn't expect you to roll off the stairs. Man, I don't have anything.
Hey, monster, she's here! She's here, come here, monster!
Ah! Listen. I'm gonna need you to shut before I throw you down this hole too. Can I even lift this TV? I can't even lift the TV.
You can use the cart to push the big box.
I think I can lift it. Okay.
Woo! Now what? Thank you.
Now we go home.
There's no face, alien, babies. Weird goblin thing that I don't know what it does.
It's gonna all be in the truck. Mm.
Oh, nice one. I forgot that you had alien.
Stop it! Leave me alone!
What is that?
I don't know. It was hitting me though.
It was the goblin.
We made it.
Oh, barely. It's almost got me.
Okay. Well,
The final shopping and then eep eep.
if there's anything good.
Strength.
Lots of stamina. I just sneezed. Overtime. Ugh. Muting it in time. I'm just that skilled. Ah.
Harumph.
8K. I don't know what I need. Shoop, 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 shoop. Hail.
Do I have any speed? I don't. Maybe I want speed.
You want two?
Yeah.
There's a 9K one. There's two 9K ones. Oh, wait, no, this is stamina. Learn to read, Ellie.
Gosh. This is the wrong thing.
Yay.
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 Yeah.
I'm rubbing my eyeballs again.
Yeah, no. Eyeballs.
Trank gun.
You take the health.
Give me a 50. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Thanks for playing.
It's that time.
Bye bye.
Ew, this map. Yeah, let's get out of here.
Lucky.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. That was a lot of fun. I think tomorrow I might stream Death Stranding. I don't know if I'll finish Little Witch in the Woods. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I have it in me. But oh gosh. Let me main menu this. So I don't get destroyed by a monster. Oh no. Oh no, I'm bright. Settings? Okay, there you go. Now I'm not that bright. Yeah, tomorrow will probably be Death Stranding. Cause I feel like I was gone for a month. I feel like the roads that I've built are gonna be gone. So I'm gonna try to yeah, I'm trying to finish that one. Thank you for the hydrate. I shall. And then that's it, right? That's it. Thanks for hanging out with me. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye. Bye bye. Take care. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. That's it. Right? Go away. You can go now. It's okay. Just kidding. I love you. Take care. Bye.